Today we have an amazing story. We're talking to Dave, who has had an incredible awakening, lives an incredible life now with lots of wonderful healing modalities, but it all started off with addiction. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
Hi, Dave.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So addictions is a real topic, isn't it? It's a real heartfelt topic for anybody who suffers, with that addictive personality. So tell us a little bit about you and how this all started.
So from a very early age, I can remember I've had a very addictive personality. It kind of started in my teens when I started smoking to gain the validity from others, that I could be accepted into the group, to be one of the cool kids. I started smoking, started drinking, moved on to weed, and it was all harmless in my eyes. Started skipping lessons and at school becoming one of the cool kids, and it was great. It's only through hindsight, which we'll delve into after, that I understood why all this was happening, but at the time I was just kind of running off a pattern that I need this acceptance in my life. And it was the cannabis that started to get a real grip on my life, because it was making me feel good. It was kind of suppressing everything. I started to do this all through my GCSEs, I remember. And whereas people would go out and smoke at the weekends, I would do that, but then it started to happen every night. I started to do it on my own. And then this gradually progressed into alcohol every day when I left school. Then this moved in my later teens to cocaine, and that had a very firm grip on my life. So I would just take these new things and take them to the extreme each time. All of this eventually brought about real friction, which I always had a volatile relationship with my father anyway. It brought to kind of watershed, a boiling point where he kicked me out. I remember it was a Christmas day. We had this huge argument, and he said, "You've got 1 week to go." So in all fairness with me, he gave me 1 week. And within that, a week later, I left with my life in bin bags, literally, which of course created a lot of pain, which I didn't think at the time, because I wasn't willing to address because I wasn't comfortable feeling emotions. So I took the addictions even more, drinking and all this. Anyway, one night in the club, I met this beautiful girl. I don't know what she saw in me. Must have been dribbling, slumped up a wall in a corner. She clearly saw something that I couldn't at the time. That's very common, isn't it, when we can see something in other people and they can't see it themselves. But she, kind of held the mirror up to me, so to speak. And she saw the way I was living. At the time, my boss actually took me in, because I held a job down all through this. Yeah. Because my parents, my father installed into me a very firm work ethic, and we'll talk a little bit about the subconscious mind later on. Yeah. And I was young back then. You could go on benders, do these things. I could still function at work, and I was a functioning alcoholic to some degree. Yeah. So she saw the way I was living on my boss's floor. I used to sleep on a futon after I'd been sofa surfing for a while, and only actually spent a few nights walking the streets, and even then 24-hour drinking to come into play. So I'd just stay in the pubs for as long as I could and drink. I had my bin bag of clothes stashed somewhere, and that was cool. So I kind of did that thing. But so her family actually took me in, and it was great. And it was at that point she said she saw my cocaine abuse, and that scared her. And this is another topic for another day. The drinking she was cool with, but the cocaine scared her. Now, isn't that a powerful thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
How society views that, you know what, you're throwing up last night because you had loads to drink, and we kind of laugh about it. But if I come in with a nosebleed the next day, I had too much coke last night, people probably take me to HR. You've got a problem. That's another topic for another day, but isn't that the power of conditioning and what's socially acceptable and what's legal and isn't legal? Yeah. But she said, "I want you to stop your cocaine use." And you know what? I did, because I saw how my father had kicked me out. I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to get kicked out of this new place and disrespect her parents or the love and generosity they'd shown me. So, you know what? I just stopped. No rehab, no nothing. I just stopped. However, there was a void in my life, so I swapped one addiction for another. I got into the football culture then. So I said, I'd go to Aston Villa, that we won't talk about at the moment. And I would live for match days. Yes. And again, another thing which I find very fascinating is that I can stand on a train with a can of Stella at 9 o'clock in the morning. If I'm wearing a football top, that's okay. If I'm doing that on a Monday morning, people are going to look at me differently, and it's these blurred social lines again. He's going to football. That's okay. He's having a drink at 9 in the morning. And I'd live for match days and I'd just get as wasted as I could. I mean, I took it to the next level.
Really? Were you drinking in between then? Or so you'd stopped the...
Yes, I stopped the cocaine, but the drinking was continuous. But the football was another, and that whole culture and that the pre-match, and I loved it being as a gang and that solidarity, being in the pubs beforehand. And I would just drink all day.
But when you were drinking, did it enter your head, oh, I better not? So what I'm saying is, so when you go to buy a drink, did it enter your head, or it's just... you weren't even conscious? No. You're like, I'm going to
because what I was doing, it was numbing this void I had, all this pain, and it was giving me social... I was called Stella Dave. I was getting all these social accolades, status. And I could drink, and I was proud of that. I could drink a lot and still hold my own and stand up. Like 15 pints of Stella. I'm thinking of it throughout the day. So, no, I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. I was a win-win. And alcohol was quite cheap back then.
Were you having an effect on anybody at this point, do you think? Was your alcoholism having an effect on other people?
So, yes. And it's funny how two people can be on blurred lines, because I eventually moved out of the partner's place I was with at the time to get our own place. And it's funny how two people living on the same roof can be on totally different pages, because one day I came home from a job. I was a chef, the split shift. Very part of the chefing culture, drinking.
Absolutely.
And I came back one day on my split shift, and she was there in the mirror. I remember her getting ready, and she said, I can't do this anymore. I said, what do you mean? She said, I'm leaving. She's like, you put alcohol before me. You put yourself first. I'm not ready for this kind of level of commitment, but to live like this. And she just left. And I got home from my split shift on that night after the second shift, and she'd gone. And I was like, wow. I remember just falling to my knees and sobbing. And I just went down the pub, because it's what you did.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, and I went through these cycles of behaviours, went from partner to partner, and this kind of self-sabotaging behaviour where it was me. I had to put myself first, my drinking. Are you coming home now? Yeah, one more pint. And I was the guy until they called last orders. I was that guy that just, I didn't have a shut-off point. So it's continued, went through partners, relationships, until I started discovering the gym culture. And guess what? I abused that. Starting to give 5-6 meals a day into the bodybuilding culture. Got to get as big as I can. Can't go out, I might miss a meal. Became really neurotic about it. And by doing this, the alcohol started to lose its grip on me, which you could say was healthy to some degree. I'd say the gym is a better thing to abuse than alcohol. We can abuse anything, I've learned. And I didn't see the point in training hard in the gym for an hour and then going out and drinking. So I slowly started to move away from that and get into the gym scene. But of course, it became my identity, my life. I abused that. And it was just addiction. All throughout this, I met a young man at secondary school called Dean, and we clicked immediately. And he was with me throughout all these stages of my life. When I was homeless, he would give me lifts everywhere. He was such a beautiful person. He was the epitome of positivity. He had a condition called cystic fibrosis, which we didn't really talk about. We never spoke about death, because it's just something you don't do in our culture, is it? Another passion of mine to bring death out of the closet. It's going to happen to us.
Yeah.
And the one thing about Dean was he never judged me. He never tried to fix me. And all through my life, I was in the habit of fixing people and controlling. And all through my relationships, I tried to manipulate people, because I was shown in my early ages that's what love was. Love was conditional. And if you behave a certain way, I can love you. When you don't behave that way, it causes friction. And we've got problems in our relationship. It's not love. It's ego love. It's human love. Dean wasn't that. He never fixed me. He might say, Dave, you're a little bit out of control last night. Like, we had to pick your passport off of the bar that you left, and you tried to pay with stamps again. But you convinced that was currency.
I'm trying so hard to be quiet and not.
Or I'd wake up one morning covered in cuts. I was like, what happened? He's like, you walked into a wall. But he never tried to fix me. He just loved me and accepted me for as I was. And yeah, so Dean had something called cystic fibrosis, and the one night he phoned me, he said, Dave, I'm going in for a lung transplant. I've been accepted. I think this was the age of 32. I'm not very good with dates. But yeah, around 32. And he said, I'll see you on the other side, whatever that meant. So the next day, his partner at the time phoned me and she said the lung transplant has been a success. Dean would like to see you, but not now, in a week. So a week later, I'll go in. He's pumped up on steroids. He looks huge. We're laughing. But he's smiling. He's got this cracking scar across his chest. He's literally got these new lungs in him. And you know what? Within 6 weeks, that young man had left the hospital. And he was coming up the gym with me. He was discharged. The power of his mind every day. He's like, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm leaving this place. I've got a new lease of life. And this is a man that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without getting out of breath to now he was coming up the gym. He was starting to train for a marathon. He was this huge inspiration for people. He was only a little guy, but he was very big in character and stature. Just amazing. And the next year, I had the honour of being his best man at his wedding. And it was very cliched, but it was picturesque and beautiful. It was literally, the sun was shining. It was overlooking the sea on this rock face down in Ilfracombe. Just beautiful. And I thought, wow, what a journey to watch this young man. And I'm here able to stand relatively, I didn't drink at that time, just here. He's been with me all this time on this journey. And that was it. I thought it was going to be honky-dory, it's all roses. But the beautiful paradox about the human body is that Dean had to have immunity blockers to block his immune system, because had he had an immune system, his body would have rejected the lungs, which would have killed him. But
yeah, I've heard that.
So he essentially didn't have an immune system, so had to be very careful what he did. And the one winter, he was always in and out of hospital. He was always having checkups. We didn't think too much out of it, but it was in a prolonged amount of time. And yeah, the one winter he caught pneumonia and bronchitis, and with no immune system, you can imagine the challenges his body was facing. And his wife then phoned me on a Friday evening. She said, "You need to come to our hospital because they say Dean's not going to make it through the weekend." And I thought, well,
this is Dean we're talking
about.
This is Dean.
Yeah. and I know it's naive generally, but I never considered him dying. I never considered the concept of death. And I thought the doctors, they've got to give you worst case scenarios, a little bit dramatic just to prepare you. And I just thought, okay, and hung up. Anyway, the next morning, still in the gym phase then, I was like, well, it's deadlift Saturday. I'm not missing deadlifts. I'm going up the gym. Did my deadlifts. I didn't drive at the time. And the partner I was with at the time, who was now my wife, I said, can you just drive me to the hospital? I feel I should just show my face. Anyway, I walked in, navigated the maze, the corridors, and went to this side room, opened it, and all his family were there, and he was on a ventilator, unconscious. I was like, that's when the penny dropped. Like, this is pretty serious stuff. So I sat down, held his arm, and I remember looking at the sleeve on his arm. He had a tattoo for various members of his family, his nephews and nieces, like Crayola pencils and pens and dinosaurs. And so I went there at 1:15 and 16 minutes past 2, which is a number I see a lot. 2:16, 14:16, Dean left his body. So I was there for the last hour of his life. And I wasn't ready for that. So we all went out of the room, and while the nurses were preparing the body, we were out there. We were actually laughing at his diet because he had an atrocious diet. He used to be alpha bites and things like that. And it was just dreadful. And I'm quite passionate about nutrition, even in my alcoholic days. I was a bit more chefing background. But we were laughing about it. And I just said to his parents, I said, can I go back in and just give my gratitude and thanks for what this young man has given me and shown me. And so I went in, and so there's just me and Dean, if you want to call him Dean. His shell that was labelled Dean is in the room. And in that moment, it just dawned on me, there is no way the unconditional love that you showed me, the positivity, the inspiration, there's no way it's confined to that shell that's laid in front of me. I was looking at his feet. I thought, you've got little hobbit feet, and I found that quite funny. I thought, there's no way that you're in there and you just die and all of this is for nothing. And it was in that moment something started to happen within me. I started to have the most overwhelming feeling of unconditional love, of joy, of bliss I'd ever experienced before. But it was around me as well and engulfing me. And I was hugging him and kissing him and crying. I mean, had he been awake, he'd be like, what are you doing,
Get
mate?
off.
We're in the lag culture, you don't do that. But this is how I felt, and I just felt in awe and bliss. And yeah, to say there was light in the room, it's literally, I felt amazing. It's only through hindsight, I was like, well, I shouldn't be feeling like this. It's a bit, what happened? So I walked out that room, and there's a chapter in my book called Stars in Their Eyes. don't want to judge you both, but I think you're old enough to remember a show
Yes.
called Stars in Their Eyes on Saturday night
Yes.
with Matthew Kelly, and they go behind the curtain, come
Yeah.
out a different person. Say, tonight, Matthew. Well, I went into that hospital ward, Dave Jones, and part of me died in there with Dean, and I came out
Wow.
a different person because the veil had been lifted, because my ego structure of how I told the world was, of what was good, bad, I was raised religious, this is how it was. In that moment, something short-circuited and it was shattered.
I feel quite emotional. Do you? Honestly, that is just such a beautiful story. That's really touched me.
Do you think when you said that you were in there and you felt all this love, do you think his energy, his spirit
Yeah.
came out
Wrapping me
and
up.
wrapped round you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And that was his final gift.
It was meant to be, wasn't it? That was
Beautiful.
the
Yes,
the
it
point of
was.
your-
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's a whole other topic. As
Oh,
well,
really?
Kind of
Do you
predeterminism
think?
and
Yeah.
yeah. Because without that catalyst, I wouldn't be here today. Wouldn't be having this conversation. Wouldn't have written that book.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. So let's talk about this book then now. We might as well. Do you want to hold it up to your camera and tell
Sure.
people about your...
Wherever, yeah. So here we are.
The awakening.
The awakening of death, because it was death that brought about my awakening as to who and what I am.
Yeah.
And I remember going home that night, and I cried in the arms of my partner at that time, and I just wanted to know who am I? What am I? What's the point of this all? Is it all some giant accident, some cosmic freak accident? There's got to be more to it. I started searching. I actually Googled what's the meaning of life, and that was the starting path. And it just started unraveling all these religious answers, which I was raised religious, and they just didn't quite sit with me anymore. I kind of touched on a deeper truth. I feel religion will take you so far, and it's not to criticise anyone. There's a lot of beauty in the world, but it's just not for me. And I've started getting into the more kind of deeper esoteric stuff, and it started to click here. It started to resonate with me. I was like, this feels like the truth to me. And started discovering these beautiful teachers. One question I always had, why did I have such an addictive nature? And it was only then, after all that journey, I started to look back and question, well, why did I have like that?
Yeah, and that is such a big question, and I think such a big question for so many people. And I think our society now pushes people in some respects, the way that we live our life, you know, with all the technology. It's the word I'm looking for. You know, so many people are addicted, so many young kids addicted to technology, to sugar, to bad drinks, to...
I've got a chapter in here called Screens and Sugar.
Have you? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe that's the new religion, to control people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
too. Me too. I mean, I have a massive problem with sugar. You know, that's been my addictions all my life, and now it's swapped to sugar. Well, that's actually been the one that's been running the whole time. Sorry, Craig, I better say that because my husband's there. I can't tell any fibs when he's there. I get caught out.
There's no secrets.
No, and it is. So why? What is the meaning of addictions?
Well,
What's
sugar. We've turned into a nation of dopamine addicts, basically, haven't we? We want these short hits, and we've been conditioned that life has to be this perfect, up, constant trajectory, and it's not true. And I found the moment you accept the lowest, I'm talking like Carl Jung, I think, said, unless you want to reach heaven, the roots have to go to hell. Something along those lines. You've got to become comfortable with feeling the lows, the shame, the pain, the guilt. But on this journey, I started to learn about the subconscious mind, and how even from the third trimester when we're in our mother's womb, you're getting programmed, you're getting shaped. You can call this the subconscious mind. You could say from a spiritual aspect, your root chakras being programmed with societal, collective, personal, family beliefs, cultural beliefs. Those first 7 years then are very key to a child's development, and we do phasic development at the college where I work. And a child doesn't have their neocortex fully developed yet, their thinking brain, so they can't rationalise and question things. They run purely off the limbic system of the brain, which is the emotional part, and the reptilian, the base part, which is real primal, fight or freeze stuff. So you're just going to accept the caregivers or environment around you, what's happening, you're going to accept what's happening without questioning it. You're just going to learn it. We don't actually learn through words as well, I would say. It's the environment, it's the energy of the room. So I can say one thing to you, my energy says something totally different. children feed off that energy. And then, I will get to addiction related to that, they tell themselves stories about things. And I see the way my father is with my daughter now, and some of the things he says, I could see how that could shape a young mind that doesn't have the ability to question something. And my true feeling of the addiction is it's rooted in trauma.
Yeah.
And trauma is unresolved distress. And this is controversial. It doesn't stem from the event that actually happened to us at the time. It stems from the story we tell ourselves about the traumatic event. That's the trauma. And then that story becomes a subconscious narrative in our life. So, for instance, a big people-pleasing one that I think is a sickness in our culture. I grew up trying to please people to avoid feeling rejected. So we go,
my God, I'm going to get upset here.
If I please you, you're not going to reject me. So therefore, you keep a certain emotion at bay so I don't have to feel a feeling in my body. I can only feel something about you if I have a belief about it. I can't generate emotion otherwise. So what's the belief beneath that emotion? So don't reject me because you might reinforce my belief that I'm not good enough and I'm not worthy and I'm not lovable. And I feel that this is what 99% of people believe.
Yeah. Can I just say, because obviously Paul is getting emotional.
It's okay.
When I first, this is what Dave does. Because I met up with you, and I burst into tears. We met up for a green tea, 2 rounds of green tea, and it's your presence, your energy. You've got such amazing energy. And obviously, people that are watching right now, they can't feel what we're feeling. Well, they might do when they're watching YouTube. But you've got incredible. You ooze. It's like loving energy. Is that what you're feeling?
I think I'm feeling lots of things. I'm feeling energy. I'm feeling touching on a few raw nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was it that Dave said?
I think it's the people pleasing and I think it's a lot of things that many people suffer from. And you know, we talk about trauma, and I think we believe that trauma has to be a great big huge thing. We've attached this, haven't we? And there's micro traumas that build up within people. And I think for a lot of people, I know I'm speaking for myself, but I'm also speaking for other people that I've spoken to. The frustration comes from not knowing what it is to fix it. You know, you can understand the behaviour, and I see my patterns of behaviour all the time, but I don't know how to fix it. And I think, and I know I'm speaking for so many people when I say that, you know, how do you fix it? You know, is because they are files, programs that are running in the subconscious.
It's fixable.
Mind.
And I'm so glad you touched on that. It doesn't have to be a major thing.
Yeah.
We're all traumatized.
Yeah.
And that can be the example I always use is it's tea time one day as a child and you say, can I have a cookie? And you're like, no. And I don't know, maybe I had a bad day at nursery or school. And then from that moment, that no means, oh, I'm not worthy of the cookie. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
And you know what? That can become a subconscious narrative and you might live your life. And remember, those first 7 years, the subconscious mind has no time. It's all now. So something I do to you now, it's not actually a reflection of me. It's poking wounds that your inner child learned.
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always say I popped out of the womb anxious, but I had a very anxious, unhappy mum. You know,
and you would learn that because you're arriving on this strange planet. Who am I? What am I? Where am I?
Yeah.
You're going to believe the caregivers around you know they've got it all sussed, and you're going to adopt those patterns of survival, so to speak. And then any emotional reaction that you see your mom have, if you encounter the same situation as your adult self now, Paula, you're literally playing off a program that you learned your mother, but these can be changed. So my thing was, my mother left my father and I when I was 3 years old. She just walked out one day.
Okay.
My mother had her own stuff, her own issues. We have a very close relationship now. I love her unconditionally. I can say that. I really can. And some of the stuff she's told me that she experienced, horrible. Some of the therapy, I mean, that generation, they don't have access to the therapy we have now. I mean, she was having electroconvulsive therapy and all that. It's just not good. So my mother does her thing. my parents meet in a mental institution, it'd be called back then, and then I'm the product of it. So they each had their stuff. So it was a very volatile relationship. I tell my mum this now, had she not have left me, I might not be here today, but she still can't forgive herself for what she did, because society says mum and dad should stay together and through thick and thin, and marriage back then was uncommon. So my mum does her thing, she leaves. I can't question that. So the child then, I'm not good enough. My mum doesn't want me. I'm not lovable. I'm the problem. I then go to school in the early 90s where divorce is still fairly uncommon. I see all my peers around me have a mum and dad. It reinforces the belief I have. I'm also taken to church, raised a Christian. I learn about this Old Testament God that's going to punish me, that I'm born in sin, that I'm not good enough. I better be a good little boy, I'm going to hell. So you see all these things under the first 7 years before my ego is fully developed. That's the narrative. With that narrative then, it produces an emotional response within me on a daily, which is steeped in shame and guilt. That doesn't feel good because on the scales of vibration, that's a very low frequency. So as we get older, alcohol makes me feel good. Dopamine hit. Screen makes me feel good. Line of cocaine makes me feel good. A cigarette. Getting these hits of dopamine, taking me away from the core vibration. But you see that core belief is always there. It's like climbing an insurmountable mountain. You're never going to get to the top. You just keep coming down and chasing the dragon. You can never get where you're trying to go because you'll not go into that core. What do I believe about myself?
So really what we're saying, to have a more fulfilling life and to feel happy within ourselves, we need to go into the core wound and also look at the files that we've got running. Yeah. You know, those you know, I'm not good enough, or you know, people don't see me. And so by people watching this, you know, what files have you got running that you say to yourself every day, you know? And then once we become aware of those files, then we can start looking at the core wound of what's creating those files. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you get in with people that you're working with? How do you get into those files?
I know it's cliched, but meditation.
Yeah.
You've got to be mindful about what you're thinking. And, you know, so if you see people staring off in space sometimes, you say, what are you thinking about? They're like, nothing. You are, and you're probably playing off a negative pattern. And they say we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, apparently. I've never studied it.
70,000.
70?
Oh, she
Gets
knows.
worse.
Average 70,000 thoughts a day.
Who's done that study? Wow. But how many of those are negative? I can guarantee quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because humanity is steeped in negative bias through our evolution and programming.
That's what keeps us safe.
And it's finally become, and it's becoming aware of what you're thinking and how you're feeling. So emotions, which I've spent my whole life trying to subdue, because I thought being a man, you don't feel emotion. That's a belief. And especially when I got into the football culture, you do not show emotion because I'm a strong man. And you know what I learned about that they're all vulnerable, wounded inner children. In my experience, that's my perception, but searching for something, that solidarity, that belonging, because they never found it within. So this is where you use emotion, and if you're feeling rubbish, the emotions are an indicator that you have a core belief, and you start to become aware of how you're thinking, feeling, and you start to flip it on its head. Let's use public speaking. That used to be a huge fear of mine. So coming on something like this years ago, I'd have been sweating buckets and, I can't do this, and days and building up to it. So I'm coming on this podcast. That's the initial thing, but we go belief hunting. So what's below that? Well, why don't I want it? Why don't I like public speaking? Why don't you like public speaking? Well, people might laugh at me. Well, what does that mean? Well, it might mean I'm not good enough. Well, what does that mean? Well, I might be rejected. Well, what does that mean? I'm not good enough. I don't believe in myself. I need the affirmation of others. So you see, this is where we use seemingly trivial situations, keep going down, down, down. What does it mean beneath it all? And the people pleasing, that's another quality. Yeah. Classic example, isn't it?
That's massive.
Don't reject me, because that will reinforce my core belief, the emotion. I don't want to feel the emotion, so people do things. They live in the future. I don't want to do that because I'll feel a certain way. So this is why fear keeps you held back. You'll miss
it
life.
Does, and
it passes you by.
Keeps us in a box, doesn't it? And stops
keeps you
us
safe.
from And
it's not a criticism. It's the juxtaposition of the ego mechanics. So it keeps you safe.
Yeah.
But life will pass you by.
It's funny when you talk about beliefs, because really it is simple, isn't it? It's just a thought.
Yeah.
But in reality, when it's your own experience, it's so much bigger than that. But, you know, when you actually just say it in a sentence, all you got to do is change your thoughts.
I know.
Because you have a thought, then you attach the feeling to the thought, and then you believe it's real. So it's all about these silly files that we got running.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't say they're silly, because they've served us to a certain point. I hear what you're saying.
True, yeah.
But yeah, we can change it. But it's easier said than done. Because
of
it's just
course.
something that's, and I don't want
course.
to bring past lives into it, but you don't know how many karmic attachments or stories you've been telling yourself.
I'm glad you've brought that up, because I love epigenetics, that you can, you know, your DNA doesn't have to determine who you are, it's the environment.
Yep.
But also, you know, take that on a slightly different tangent, that we're bringing in our ancestors' trauma, and that just, it blows my mind. It's incredible, and that lots of people that overeat, ancestors were starving. I mean, it makes complete sense, and it shows how incredible we are as human beings, that we can then, that can be programmed in to keep us safe in the future. Yeah. But it's not so great, is it, when you live in a and you've got the mentality like a dog, eat, because you don't know when your next, you know, dinner's coming from. But I mean, it's all madness, isn't it? So what would you say then? Or no, not what would you say? How did you do it then? How was your transformation? So you've left Dean and something wonderful has happened. You know,
the whole healing journey.
Yeah.
Which can I just add? I became addicted to healing as well.
Did you?
I tried to, and that's the ego trying to manipulate it.
Yes.
Well, if I heal quick, I'll be this enlightened master, and it's another trap.
But
when I first discovered that, it was through EFT. I did tap in.
Yeah.
And I would tap for hours in the night, and I literally frazzled my nervous system, because I was I've got to get all this stuff out.
Yeah.
But the real healing, I begin early on. Very basic. What I tell people is, as soon as you're falling asleep or when you wake up, those 5 minutes before you go to sleep and those 5 minutes when you wake up, your brainwave kind of goes into theta state.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in the first 7 years, going back to childhood again, you're mainly in theta alpha, which is hypnosis mode, basically.
Download, yeah.
So when you go to sleep, tell yourself what you want. Don't focus on the negatives today. Tell yourself what you want. And when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, and it's going into your subconscious, and this is very slow. So that's how I started. Then the birth of my daughter, I don't know, something awoke something within me. And I started to have physical purgings in my body. I thought, what's happening? My body's breaking down. But it's all good. I trust the process. And I started to have these real emotional, violent outbursts. And I'm crying like a toddler. And this went on for about 2.5 years. And I'd like to say I'm coming out the other end of it now. Not that it was a bad thing. And this is, again, we've got this bias around emotions in our society. And again, just to speak about my dad quickly, I see the way he talks to my daughter. Don't do that. You're making Grandad upset. So my daughter's going to learn that I'm responsible for the way people feel, and that's another huge thing.
Yeah.
And that somehow a tantrum or emotions are wrong. It's a rich part of the human experience. It's how we learn. So we do not shut children's emotions down. We validate them, give them boundaries at the same time. And I was meditating one day, and I was like, because I thought I'm on the borderline of psychosis. I said, what is happening to me? And I was told it's because you never felt. It's that simple. And because I'd spent all this time putting a lid on all my emotions, all through being homeless, through my mum leaving me, just through partners leaving me. I'd never felt anything. I kept it all at bay with drugs and alcohol. And it's like it's like I'd stirred the pot, clear water, and all the mud had come to the surface, and it's like I had to feel everything. And this was scary for my wife, but now we can laugh about it, because one day was a good story. She came down and I'm sobbing in front of the washing machine, rocking like a madman. And she just comes in and she just nods. She's like, I'll come back. I can see you busy, and goes upstairs. And she's cool with it. And I just needed to get out of my system, and then I'm fine. And that was but all this sadness, this shame, this guilt, which I've been working a lot with, it just needed to be seen and felt, and that's all. It just has to be felt. Feel it to heal. It's the cliche, isn't it? But it's true.
It is, isn't it? And I think we live, especially Western culture, that it's not good, as you say, to show that. You know, people are so uncomfortable with tears and emotion, and people just can't handle it. They can't handle it. And, you know, people's first thing, isn't it, is, oh, you're all right. You know, actually, who are they saying is all right?
They're not.
It's their...
I'm going to say they're not comfortable with the emotion, so they're trying to comfort you in order to make themselves feel safe. That's my perception. But I see the way my parents are and grandparents, they're trying to make... They're not comfortable because their inner child screaming and wounded, and they were never given the nurturing and love. Yeah. So I would say in order to change the belief, because all truths are half-truths, so I'm not good enough, we'll flip it on its head. I am enough, I am good enough. Yeah. It's easier said than done. You need to burn the emotional template out behind that belief in order for it then to be reprogrammed. Yeah. And this is what I was doing, purging all this stuff, crying in front of the washing machine one day, sobbing on the floor, hitting
Did you do the washing though?
It was on at the time, so I thought,
but did you put the washing in?
I'm always in the washing. That's another story. Hitting pillows, repressed anger, because I had a very poor relationship with anger. My spiritual ego, spiritual people don't get angry. My father had a volatile temper, and I grew up and said, well, I'm never going to be that person because of that fear. So I repressed all my anger, but anger's a very healthy one. So all this stuff had to come out, and then you can reprogram. It's like you've got a blank canvas again.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing, you know, when you have clients, and you're life coaching. Thing is, when you have lots of modalities, you bring them all in, don't you? There's never any one kind of... And people are holding on to those so tightly. How do you kind of help them through that process to allow it to come up so that they can purge it and feel it? Because that's the thing, isn't it? You know, it's very easy to say, you know, you need to feel it. But the whole point of people's lives up to where they're at is they've not wanted to feel it.
And again, that's ego trying to keep you safe, and that's what it does, and it's a beautiful thing. You give it love and gratitude and compassion. And there's often a fear with a lot of clients, well, if I change, people are going to reject me, and it's going to be scary, and I might be alienated. That's quite a common one. But just through being today, like we have, I just give them that space to know that there's actually zero judgment. In fact, if anything, I want you to cry, because there's no judgment. And we do the healing modalities that I've done and have worked for me. So the EFT, the breath work, the Reiki, the inner child work. I've done these. I'm not going to teach something I don't know that doesn't work. And it just kind of gives them the green light to just let go. And that's all it is. Oh, I don't have to wear this mask anymore. It's exhausting trying to pretend to be something that you're not, because we are all magnificent. I've touched upon that. I've experienced it. I can never portray that experience to you, but I've experienced how undescribably, uniquely, inherently, divinely beautiful and perfect we all are. And I can see that in myself finally. So, you know, I see that in
I can feel it from
I
you.
see that in each and every other person's eyes now, even if they can't see it. Yeah. Like when that girl saw me in that club the night, she could see something that I couldn't at that time. And this is the truth. And I call it the great game of pretending. We are all pretending to not be magnificent, and it's blooming exhausting.
That's so
trying
true.
to be something that you're not. It's damn hard.
I love that. I absolutely love that. What a lovely thing to think and say, because it's so true,
It's
isn't
true.
it?
It's not some nice little fluffy cliche. It's universal, quantum, profound, whatever, core truth. And that is the only truth, in my opinion.
Can you imagine if everyone just took the masks off?
And stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. I always think if everyone just for one day, I would like it longer than one day, but just for one day, if the whole world practiced loving kindness, imagine what that
Everyone's
would do.
Scared. And
Everyone is scared.
It's just perpetuated by stories that we see on the screen. And
Do you know, you start talking about space. It's really wonderful. And I don't want this, sorry guys, to become the Paula show here, but I want to say something now because something's happened in my life in the last kind of 4 months. And, you know, Kerry and other two girls are really new into my life. And I think a support network that's real and genuine and true is so important. You know, to have proper, real friends around you, because then I think you feel safe enough, or your subconscious feels safe enough. You're not even consciously aware of that yourself. But I've not, since I met these guys, stopped crying. But actually, yes,
Those
you
tears are
saying
sacred.
that exactly,
Those tears
that's what
are
they
a
are.
messenger about beliefs
They're
you
real,
hold, and, and it's part of being human to feel the
it
lows
is, isn't it?
as much as the highs.
To have that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm saying thank you, my beautiful friend.
And you know what, community?
Really,
we used to be a tribal community, didn't we?
Yes.
In the years gone by, and it's been fragmented. And social media has brought us together in so many ways, but it's also alienated us about so many people are lonely. We need to bring that tribal community back to restore that root chakra, the foundation of humanity, and build from that upwards. But everyone's trapped in the lower three chakras at the moment, I feel.
Yeah.
Of fear, pleasure, and power and control. And
I totally agree with that. And we talk about this a lot, don't we? About community,
and that's why we love doing this podcast, is creating a community and connecting people together. And I can feel off you, when you hold that space for people to allow those people to take their masks off. May I ask you, my voice went up then. Do you think it's different for guys than women with their emotional stuff? I mean, I know, is it different for a guy when they're going through the stuff versus women, in your view, your experience?
I don't know, speaking from a woman's perspective, but I would say men have been raised with the notion that boys don't cry. I grew up on kind of James Bond and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which need big manly men, and that would you do these things on a screen that you viewed as what masculinity was. I would say when I started to cry in the early days, I would hide it because of the shame of my wife hearing me and potentially what will she think of me. And I know some women have bought the narrative as well that men should be this strong, heroic, emotionless. So I think both people have bought the myth. Both sexes have bought the... But yeah, there's still a tiny bit of shame. I remember when I did my first breathwork class, and it was a room full of... I was probably about 20 people in there. I was the only man. And everyone starts crying and screaming. And I did feel like this. I felt very emotive, and I thought, I can't cry. And actually that subconscious block there. So I wanted to, but then the overriding program kicks in. Anyway, I managed to get through that and have a very cathartic release. And it was after that I've said, I'm going to be a breathwork instructor. This is powerful. Just through breathing, wow. And all the stuff that comes in, the altered states of consciousness you go into. So there's a lot of, shame to show my emotion, a lot of barriers I had to break through, but
I think
I think because the biggest, we started a men's group recently, the biggest killer of men under 50 in this country is suicide.
I know.
So that's not something that's attacking us. That's not something that's out there or, this is something that's preventable. And I would feel men are slugging around with them that much heavy baggage if they just knew how to release the emotions and feel lighter. Because I've been suicidal twice. I write about it in this book. And it was that pain, that heaviness that I wanted to escape. But if I just knew how to process emotions safely and correctly, but I was never shown, that would have gone. So I do feel we just need to cry and feel again. Just feel. Not be afraid to feel, but we're just told to numb ourselves, aren't we, through screens and sugar and anything. And
we are. Do you know what keeps popping into my head? When Princess Diana died and the two boys walking down after, their faces holding on to all of that.
You've got to be strong. You've got to be strong.
You've got to be strong.
How many times do you hear that? What does that mean?
Exactly. That's it. What are we trying to prove? Yeah. And that's the truth, isn't it? Or, that my generation of people grew up with, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, shut up.
Same from the Victorian kind of children seeing and not heard.
Exactly.
And wow, I believe this is why a lot of children used to have their tonsils taken out, because that throat chakra is shut down. This is just my theory, but that throat chakra is shut down. And did you hear that? It's quite common growing up, wasn't it?
It was.
That's just my theory. But shut up. So I'm not safe to express myself, my wants, my needs.
Exactly. I think the whole connection between our physical body, our emotional, our spiritual body, there's such a disconnect. And I think that's on purpose, but that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it? And a whole nother conversation. And it's just integrating every single aspect of ourselves. And really, we were talking about this in the car actually, about learning to really embrace who you are and love who you are. Because I think when you're sitting in that place, then you've got so much more for everybody else as well.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about worrying what other people think of you. And I was saying in the car, if you know who you are and who you're not, and if you arrive at that place within yourself and the strength in yourself, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you. And then obviously it depends where they are on their consciousness. But it's about you knowing who you are and who you're not. And it's very difficult. I mean, it's not easy. I'm not saying I've got that together, and but it's it's arriving at that point of releasing all those files, healing your wounds, releasing things that are not serving you, so you can step and be in line with your authentic self. And to do that, it's so freeing, and life feels amazing. If you can get to that point, but it's not easy, because really life is amazing. It is perfect.
It's whatever you want it to be.
Exactly.
And that's the gift,
it's the mindset, isn't it?
It can be heaven or hell. It's
Yeah.
But next to death, I've found one of the biggest fears is the fear of what others think, and I would say they're the two biggest ones. But ever since a young age, and this doesn't come from a people-pleasing thing that I learned, it's the fawn response, the fawn trauma response to appease the threat. I just remember this inherent joy within and innocence, and I just wanted to help people as much as I could. And as I grew up, I saw that I had to hide that and shut it down, because if I was a nice guy, nice guys finished last night. If I was a nice guy, I might be rejected, so I had to wear a mask. But that's who I was deep down, and it was so hard. I just want to help people and be kind and nice. Why are people so...
Exactly. And I imagine so many people resonate with that, And you said something earlier, which I think is so true. When I was at school, I disregarded everything to be part of the it crowd, which meant I was a mean girl. And I wasn't a mean girl. I was a mean girl.
Were you?
Yes. But because it was more important for me to be accepted and to be part of the crowd, part of that it crowd, than anything else.
Yeah.
Than anything else. And that plays heavily on me even now.
Yeah, but that's who you were then.
Yeah.
And past judgment, that's another one you have to...
I'm full of them.
Because you did what you had to do. And all I say, anyone that says that, I just say, would you do it now? And they said no. I said, we'll leave it then, because this is here we are right now.
That's true.
But now you know that belief, why that young girl did that, because she had a core belief deep down that this is what she needed to make herself feel good. But,
do you know what? Everyone needs a Dave.
Do you know, yes, can I take you home today, please?
Okay.
And do you know what's happened?
I won't do your washing, but okay.
Craig's just been out a minute ago to say that we're out of time, and I wanted to go, no, go back. This has just been heaven, and I'm sure Kerry will get you back, because we've got so much to talk about. But before we kind of wrap it up and finish it for today, I really want you to talk about your book, where people can get the book from, what it is, give a quick, what's the word? Is synopsis the correct word?
You come out with some big words, you do.
Do I?
Yeah, I've learned a couple of words I've never heard before since hanging out with Paula.
Grammatically, is that the right word? Like, I was told to write a book in meditation one day. It said, write a book. And I was like, I just followed that anyway. I don't want to stretch on. But yeah, you can find it on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's on paperback or Kindle. And The Awakening of Death. And that's all my handles and Instagram, The Awakening of Death. My website, The Awakening of Death.
So just a brief overview of what your book touches on.
Okay, so the first half is about my first memories from my parents having violent arguments to my awakening as such. And then the second half is kind of the spiritual things that I learned and then applied them to my past life, my previous life, previous half of the life, and that's why that happened, because I had that pattern going on. That was that karmic flip of the coin, to see how my actions from the other side of the coin had, and then learning how my thoughts about money and relationship had created my poverty mentality of living in a flat and never having enough. So about reprogramming the subconscious mind, healing, and ultimately, who am I? That's at the end of the book.
And that's
the very quite heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Which, at the time, I have no qualm saying it now, but I was quite scared to write that. But it was my truth. And if taken out of context, it might appear psychotic to some people, but this is what I've touched upon within. So, yeah, it's just the spiritual journey. And it's ultimately to inspire and empower that we all each have the power in us to create what we like.
Yeah.
To question the so-called voices of authority in whatever context that be, is that true? How do I know that's true? Is that in alignment with my core truth? And to go against the grain, against the crowd sometimes is the hardest thing to do, especially with the ego. But when you understand the ego and the mechanics, take that path and walk the solo road, so to speak, if it's what feels right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful. And one more thing before you go. Just literally in 2 minutes, just talk us through the other things that you do actually do, and so if people want to get in touch with you, for anything, because there are, life coach, we've spoken about your journey today, but there are lots of things that have come out of your awakening.
So I've got my life coach, and I do holistic healing as well. So I do the CBT, inner child work, EFT, breath work, mindfulness, angelic Reiki. I'm also a soul doula, so I work with people on their end-of-life journeys, empowering them, encouraging will writing, end-of-life planning, how do people want to die, giving them that safe space of unconditional love, because I'm very comfortable with death, but I can appreciate for some it's a very scary and touchy topic. I respect that. I'm also a tutor at a college for special educational needs, which I absolutely love. I do 2 days of that. I do public speaking.
And you're a chef.
I used to be a chef in my previous life, but yeah, I can still cook. Yeah, I've still got all that.
And the washing.
And I just love life. And I'm generally feel I can say I'm enjoying life now. And I'm comfortable with the lows. I still have them.
Yeah.
But I'm comfortable with the lows just as much as the highs. And I think that's true happiness.
Yeah.
Acceptance of all that is.
It is. So
Amazing.
Have you got any kind of words of wisdom for anyone?
Everyone's perfect, honestly. If people could just have the bravery to look within and look at their shadows and their trauma, and we would stop projecting on them and actually start to turn the lens within, and I believe this would heal. But at the moment, it's just egos reacting with egos, seeing this, and I know there's a lot of flashpoints in the world at the moment that sometimes you can't ignore. Just go within, and love is the only answer. Love is the key, as fluffy as it sounds. But love is firm as well. Love isn't wishy-washy. It has boundaries. It says no. But it's also unconditional to self and others, and to let others walk their path. Even if they keep falling in the same ditch 100 times and they're not ready to be helped, you've got to let them walk into that ditch and find it through themselves, because we learn through experience and not intellect.
Dave, you're amazing.
Thank you
for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
incredible.
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.